Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all concerned. This is basically my old PC, the old beast that was from, well, roughly about late 2008 to late 2015. I used this day in, day out, and of course it was retired last year in late 2015 when I built the new one, which I still haven't put the last part in the video up. I have no idea what the point of actually documenting that was. It's a complete year out of date. Anyway, I'll get to that. But anyway, what I'm planning for this is a set of upgrades to see how far I can push this one, so I have a secondary PC which I can use for whatever. But without any further messing around, let's have a look inside. Right, so I've just opened it up a little bit more, and I of course pre-removed the oh god, thumb screws, that's the word. And we'll just have a look inside. It's kind of not really that special. Hang on, I'll just tip it up for you just a little bit. Rested on the laptop behind it that costs more. Anyway, yeah, so the power supply at the top, got the motherboard which currently has a bit of plastic over the CPU because it's still got CPU gunk on it, and you have this big neural net like cable structure, looks like a bundle of nerve fibres, which I'm probably going to have to see about cutting this bit in the middle because it's kind of not really that flexible. You can't move it around, it's kind of in the way of stuff. Yeah, this was my system for about 8 years or so. I think I'll just have to go over the parts. So that thing under there, under all that slaver, is a Q9400. It was a result of basically an earlier power supply killing the CPU and a couple of other components, as well as itself. And I got upgraded to that with 8 gigs of RAM that's under this bundle of cables somewhere. That's a whacking great heatsink for... is that the North Bridge? Possibly. I mean, this is before they integrated like memory controls onto the CPU. In the front of the case you've got one sort of lowly kind of 120mm fan that isn't really all that good. I think this case is really terrible for airflow in general. I mean, I was going to buy a new case for the new PC anyway, but I couldn't really have ever reused this one because it's just... it's a mess, really. It kind of doesn't have any airflow to speak of. In fact, one day it got so hot in there that all of this stuff, any warning label that was on here, peeled off. That's just way too hot anyway, so we're not letting that happen again. I'm going to try and replace the fan with a better one. Although I might have to investigate if it really is the case that's stopping it. But anyway, there was one optical drive in there. It's IDE, but it doesn't really matter because all it does is read discs. We're not using it for any high-performing stuff. And what looks like a rear fan, I think it's just 120mm as well. The power supply, now that's something we're going to work on because that is loud as hell. A few things else about this case, what else can I say? Scraping my mind here. Oh, it had one of these sort of cool, well, maybe not cool because it never really worked. It's basically, you didn't have to use screws of the cards, you could just move that. But I found it to be rather annoying because if you didn't get it quite right, if one of your cards drooped, you couldn't close the damn thing. But yeah, that's the case, and I might just get on to exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have a look into modifying this power supply. The problem with it is it's deathly loud, and when I first got it, I immediately voided the warranty by changing the fan and putting the old fan's power supply, sorry no, the old power supply's fan, get it the right way, into this to try and see if it was any quieter. It wasn't, it was as loud. And if I remember rightly looking into this, it's just basically a 2-pin fan that is obviously not speed controlled, so it's running at 12 volts all the time, and that's not good. But I've got some mods to help with that. What else we're going to do is I have another chip for this, probably realistically the most powerful chip that I could get today for this. That's going to be fun. Memory is going to be unchanged, and I'll go through that again later as well. We're going to swap out the front case fan as well, see if that makes any difference for airflow, possibly even modify the case, because I haven't seen under there for a long time, and last time I went in there it was disgusting. Excuse me. Yeah, I think I'm getting cold. Anyway, these ports down here aren't usually used for anything. I've never actually plugged anything in to these PCI Express ports other than for a graphics card. It's getting the graphics card from the, well, that it had before it was put in the new PC, so it's a 550 Ti we're putting back in here. But I'm also going to do something with the storage. See, everything on this board is SATA 2, and we have a card that may change that. Right, I think I need to get to showing all the parts we're going to use. And here's all the parts that we're going to be using for today's well, I say today, it's probably going to spill over a few days. For the modifications, we have 2 fans. This PWM fan is going to be put in the power supply and externally controlled using extension cables, and then using this splitter thing from my Noctua set from the other PC, it's going to be sharing the CPU's header because there's only one PWM fan header on there. And for the other fan, this one's going to be hopefully the new intake fan. So the exhaust fan is perfectly fine on this. It's a really quiet exhaust fan anyway, so we're just going to leave that. And okay, yeah, oh, this is the interesting bit. For storage, we're going to use this SATA card. Now, I didn't buy it specifically for the M-SATA, but that could be an interesting experiment. More on that later. It's got one SATA port here, and this is going to hopefully give us a slightly faster access speed, if it works, from the SATA 2 that we have on board. Hopefully give us roundabout, and I've calculated this, about 500 megabytes a second, so that's pretty good. And this is the best bit. I've already previewed this in the parts haul. I'll show you again because I'm really pleased with it. This is a Q9650, and I'll explain a little bit more after this, but basically this is all the parts we're going to use, and this is going to be really fun. This PC is not going to be used for anything major, but it's nice to have a secondary PC that has some power about it, and it is still really good parts. I mean, the P5QLE motherboard that's inside of it was always a great motherboard, and it still has potential. I can use it for anything I want. So that's why I'm keeping it. Right, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over a little bit more about the chip. Now, what I found when I was looking for a new processor to see how far I could push the thing, you got about 3 major routes. The first one is you could go with a QX9770, which is the fastest, biggest, baddest processor you can put in this board, and also the best Core 2 quad. Trouble is, they're super expensive, and there's no way I'm paying up to £200 for a chip that's like 8 years old. No way. You can go the other route, which you can go down the next powerful chip after that is the 9700 or 9705. Trouble with that one is it's an OEM part that only came in Dell XPSs as far as I understand, and so that one is not available at all, and when it is, it's stupidly expensive. Or you can arrive by this route. Now, this is actually the most powerful chip that is realistically available on eBay, and I paid about £40 for this. Actually, don't need to touch it. That was enough for me, and this is going to give me a little bit of a boost, not by much, but over the Q9400 it's 3 GHz and has double the cache, so it's like a Q6600 but better. So that's why we're going to go with that one. Right, so that's that out of the way. I think we'll just prepare this, but I think it might be best done on the desk because it's got a bit more room. But yeah. Right, okay, so I think now it's time to put the SSD in there. This one you'll probably recognise from a previous video. I don't actually have any other SSDs ready at the time. So while I could keep it in this form factor, this thing actually has a slot for it. So since I don't have any of the other SSDs, I'll try this one, which is meant for another project. It's properly getting a workout. It's probably going to be dead by the time it enters the power book, but never mind. And there we are. That's all done. So I think with this in the chip, I can probably put that in the case now. There's a few other things that I maybe can't do, but they'll have to be left till later anyway. But we'll do as much as we can in this video, at least. I think we'll remove the CPU first. Right, hold on. This CPU hasn't been out of here for absolutely years. There we go. Right, I'll have to go on the bed for now. Just be careful I don't get any thermal paste on it, because it's going to be a bit of a disaster if that happens. Okay, so this goes in literally as the other one came out. It's got the triangle in the same place, and there's this, where are we? There's a gap here, which went to the right last time, so and there we are. We now have a 9650. That's going to have to be cleaned, but I'll leave that till later because I don't have all of the chemicals I need, so I'll just wrap it up in that Don't know if that's anti-static or not. I could be killing the chip, but we'll just put that away for now. Alright, now this part should be easy enough. This literally can only go in one port because the graphics slot right here also covers that first one, so we really don't have a choice. It's got to go in this one here. Oh, flip the thing to the side. Am I even on top? No, I'm not. Not even in the right place. Well, it's in, now that this thing's actually letting it. I mean, I have seen some people who just literally leave that there and they don't bother tightening it, which is what I'm probably going to do, because it's tighter that way. And that's that bit done for now. I think what we'll possibly need to do is just pull the front up or something, or pull the power supply out. I think second thoughts actually, we'll just pull the power supply out because it's much easier to get to. Right, I eventually managed to get it out. The plan is, as probably I mentioned, I'm going to try and sort of feed a fan out through a hole. Trouble is, where's the hole? Am I going to have to drill a hole in this? I don't know, I might have to. I think this is going to require a little bit of experimentation. Hold on. Well, I managed to get it apart, and there's the mod that was done last time. Let's try and get this connected, and in fact, it's got a removable connector on the board. So that is actually going to be a really good thing. Actually might be good. Yeah, there we go. It's gone. Right. That's removed. So, just need to remove this and put the other fan on, which I'll probably do back over at the table. I really should have planned this in advance because I mean I'm moving about all over the place. Ugh. Clean your PC. Best thing you'll ever do. Besides putting an SSD in it. Put loads in. Okay, so I've got the other fan here. I'm just trying to put it up. That's how you do it. Right, so these have been seen before. This is an Arctic Cooling F12, very good quality fans, and that one is PWM, 4 cables. So that thing I found on the power supply, there is no discernible hole for it, but if I squeeze it through the cable gap, it'll go through the cables with everything else. That's the only way to do it. I feel I can get it through there. So, right, let's disassemble this thing. Right, that's out. Maybe that should go on the outside. What do you reckon? Get rid of this thing. It's a closer view of the mod that was done to fit that in. It was a good idea, but no. Time for the new fan. On second thoughts, this might be a little bit difficult to do, so I'll just do this off camera. Right, that's done, so got to somehow wrestle this into the power supply. I'll let you know how I get on, because I'm not filming that bit. I swear far too much. Can't believe how easily that went in. The casing isn't fastened, but the cable's gone all the way out that little hole where the rest of the loom is. And it's here, no additional holes required. This is going to be brilliant. Alright, we've gone shaky cam. As you can see, the power supply is back in. No troubles there whatsoever. And I've already wired it into the splitter cable, which has been mounted to the motherboard. Right down here. That's all ready for getting things plugged in. I've managed to secure, as you can see, I've put the graphics card back in, the good old 550 Ti. And the card is also down here. You'll notice there's something missing though. Other than that though, oh yeah, there's also the PCI Express power that needs to be found. I have that somewhere. Don't know where, but I think I can find it. CPU is in. Looking good. So this whole thing's coming along nicely. Oh, and I managed to remove that annoying piece of crap. I literally only just learned a few moments ago that you could actually take this thing off. So it's gone. It's out of here. And I've just secured all these things with good old screws that don't cause any problems. Never anything wrong with a screw. So that's all nice and secure. I think I might leave this till tomorrow, but I've got to have a look at this fan arrangement, try and get this front panel off. It does come off, but it requires a certain level of persuasion. Looks like I was wrong. That detached very easily. So what I had to do was, wait a second, the other clip should be on the other end. Oh, there we go. It's coming. We've done it. Actually, give me a second. Oh, we got it off, but man, that's disgusting. Oh. Oh, just how? Why? But now we do see the extent of the problem, and how on earth are you supposed to get airflow through that? I mean, that's the on button. It's all like right in the way of the fan. No wonder the airflow sucks. That is shit. I mean, I'm going to try and clean this up as best as possible, but I think that's a bit of a problem. I don't think this situation can really be improved all that much. I mean, hopefully the new fans will work a bit better to try and get more airflow through it, but that is just rubbish. I'd forgotten what this looked like last time I'd taken it apart. Man, oh man. Okay, well, enough moaning about that. Let's get the fan out. Right, I cleaned it as best I can. What I had planned on trying to do was maybe just, if the airflow was rubbish here, just cut this section out, because I'd wrongly assumed that the whole controls thing was mounted to the case fascia, but it's absolutely not. No wonder this thing was getting hot last time I used it. That is pants. I mean, the other case by comparison, yeah, sure, it's got stuff in the way, like drive cages, and there's like the body of the case, but it's pretty much, compared to this, a clear path. There's nothing actually in its way before it gets the air into the case. This thing's just... wow. I think the only thing I can probably suggest is that this was when cases didn't have hot components in them, or at least components not as hot as what we're trying to use. Anyway, so this is how I'm going to have to do it to get the thing out. I've got the other control board somewhere else that just does the reset and power. Man, that is shit. Well, there's an interesting thing about the fan. The one on the right, sorry, the left, is the one I just took out front. The one in the centre of the picture is the one at the back. They look pretty much identical. And of course the white one is the one I'm going to put in. To be honest, the blades of this one, if I just put them side by side, it's probably going to work out very badly. They don't look all that different. Having said that, the hub of the F12 is smaller. It's got maybe a couple more blades, but I don't know, maybe it'll still be good. Besides, I bought the fans now anyway, so I might as well fit them. Alright, it's in. Can't really tell, or you can probably see the white blades between the... spin it around? No, I can't. So this may or may not improve the situation. Don't really know. Should have probably thought about it more, but I've got an idea. Whoops. Just to demonstrate an idea I had. These are the 3 remaining 5 1/4 bays. Now, I don't know if something exists, but you can fit quite easily a 120mm fan in there. So you could provide yourself with a bit more airflow. And since cold air does fall, it would probably distribute itself in the case quite nicely. I think I've seen an Akasa type attachment that allows the mounting of a 120mm fan within 3 optical spaces. Don't know, I'll have to check on that, but if that's possible, this may improve our situation a little bit. But at least this is flowing over the hard drives, although I don't know if I'm really going to put any in here. We've got the SSD in, but other than that, don't know. Right, just get the front on. Oh yeah, and I pulled this gangly looking fan splitter cable out of the case. Little interesting, as it seems to have been supplying the front and rear fans on the same header, even though I had one more spare on the motherboard. And one of the headers, at least, looked like it was a 2-pin. That might explain at times why, when the case was on quiet, it didn't quieten down too much. Anyway, that's out now. And the front is back on. Excellent. Interesting thing, I don't know if you can actually see inside, but the airflow to the fan on the inside of this thing is quite unrestricted. So once it manages to get past that, it is, the fan's pretty clear. It's the opposite in the new PC case. You've basically got clear fans with a filter in front of them, which is meant to be there, and it doesn't really restrict the airflow all that much. But then it hits some bars on the case, which then cause possible obstruction. All in all, it's nowhere near as much as this. That is quite terrible. So we'll figure this Akasa thing out, but for now I think, at least for today, I've probably done as much as I can. We'll have a look at this tomorrow. Hopefully we can get an OS on the thing by then. Just a little update on this. The plan was, as you probably have been seeing throughout these videos here, was to use my old PC case and just basically modify bits and pieces inside and just kind of make it run a bit better than it did, help it along. But then I saw this. So basically, I just bought this. I was umming and ahhing for ages. It was the second time it had gone through the auction unsold. And I eventually contacted the seller and I actually ended up buying this case. And I mean, just look at it. It looks amazing. I'll just zoom the pictures up for you. I don't know how well that's showing up for you there, but basically this is the Zalman Z machine case, and it looks epic. I mean, it's apparently made of 5mm thick aluminium. I mean, look at it. It's got like separate hard drive mounts. It's got a nice looking cage there, which looks like it's removable. It's got doors which open in separate sections. There's a better look on the inside of the case for you. And there's the front. It looks epically good. I mean, this is going to be brilliant. I figure that this secondary PC could be something which I constantly swap parts out of. And so, why not have something that's easily accessible? There's the back. Apparently the other side, I saw in some other pictures that it does have doors on the same side. But yeah, so a slight change of plan. And so this means I'm just going to have to wait for this to be delivered now. I can't really remember when it's going to be here. Might be in the next week. I mean, it's... What day is it now? I'm filming all this stuff. Brain's not working. Anyway, it's going to be here in a few days. So that is how this is going to go. But once again, thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll subscribe to this video if you want to, and you'll see me on the next one. You know, literally, I've had this board a long time, and I've only just noticed the power connector. You can see the 4-pin for the CPU there, but it's then got this other section which is capped off. That must be for the high-power CPUs when you put them in.